It's Monday evening in the UK, afternoon over there in Salt Lake. Remind me, it is Salt Lake, right? No, yeah, that's where you are, aren't you?
No.
No, no. Why did I think you were somewhere? I've got your address. I know where you're in Des Moines, aren't you?
No, I'm in St. Louis, Missouri.
There you go. Salt Lake, so yeah, to St. Louis. I've even got your address. I've sent you things. I know your address, and I'm still getting it wrong. We got 2 out of 3 of the Mayhem with us. Matty's got a sick puppy. Hopefully, he'll be joining from the comments, if nothing else. How you been, man? Getting ready for the international break? What a weekend for us.
Yeah. I mean, shockingly, I'm just shocked. To be fair, I'm shocked that we won. I'm shocked that how we won is what I'm more shocked about. So
yeah, I was gonna.
The players that needed to step up stepped up. They needed a goal. They needed to create some more opportunities, and it happened. I'm still not like convinced in a lot of things yet. I still think there's more growing pains that we still need to figure out. But overall, I think the defense is coming alive. I think Paqueta needed to do what he needed to do. It just needs to come together. I think this needs to be a start of something good because I know our next few games are going to be very, very tight, especially when Man U, we have Forest coming up, Tottenham, and then who we also have a rivalry with is Arsenal. So
yeah, you got some tough games, but it's come at a really good time for that performance for you guys. Just heading into the international break, it'll give everyone a lift, right? And you know that sort of, as you say, things hadn't been quite clicking, but fingers crossed that's a springboard. Couple of bits of news to kind of dive into, I suppose. Obviously, there's a couple of rumbles in regards to that Man City versus the Premier League and how that's happening in terms of some lawsuits and whatever else. The legal case is all coming out. Seems that Man City won a couple of points, shall we say, about how draconian the Premier League has been in regards to allowing third parties / owners to put their names on things and whatever else, and challenging some of the Premier League's rulings, which, although I don't think it's not the 115 charges of financial fair play. I think it's 2 separate things, isn't it? Whereby this is kind of a bit like, hey, let the Etihad be able to sponsor us outside of the remit of the financial fair play. So it's going to be really interesting how that has a knock-on effect with every team.
And this is one of the reasons why I think the Premier League is so corrupt in some areas. I think it's getting to that point where it's getting more and more ridiculous, especially how they favored the big teams. I think me and you could talk a full hour on what that means. But I think overall it doesn't surprise me at all. Doesn't surprise where this is going to go. I just think me and you have spotted on. That's just going to. Me and Maddie have said it actually that we think it's going to be a slap on the wrist, pay a fine. You are more on the other hand of you think it's going to be a deduction. So
I think it's
I don't
weird.
think I don't think it is anymore, Gary. I really don't.
Yeah, I mean, my concern. Well, the thing is, if it's not right, then the Premier League are opening themselves up to so much sort of legal dispute from the teams that they docked points last year, because Everton got hammered last year.
Facts.
You know, they got docked double points. They did the same. I think Forest got some as well, didn't they? Then Forest got docked a few points, whatever else. I don't think the teams who got docked points actually got relegated. I'm a bit confused. I can't remember exactly last year who got what. But if they don't dock points for some, for the 115, which in comparison to the little bits that Everton and the other teams have done, and Everton and came forward and went, oh look, we've looked at our books from a few years back, we've realised there's a problem. Can we, apologies. Whereas, as we said, City have been fighting this for however long. They're not showing their books. They're hiding and making it so difficult. If they do end up with just you've been very naughty, here's a big fine, shall we say? But what's a big fine for a team and a club and an organisation that is owned by an oil-rich Emirates-based system and who have just won a legal battle whereby the naming rights and how much they can get paid for sponsorship is kind of just been given like, actually, you can get paid whatever the company thinks it's worth. And if they're getting sponsored by Etihad, who own the club, and who, it's like, how can that? So the owner, Sheikh, whatever his name is, will come along and go, I think this sponsorship deal's worth £4 million. Prove me wrong, or whatever. Oh, look, the financial fair play line that you've just given us is completely wiped out because I've signed a new sponsorship deal with the with Etihad Airlines, or I've renamed the stadium. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense, but the thing is, just like Peaches has said in the chat, which I 100% agree with her, it's going to come to the point where even in a relegation battles for any team in the league, whether you're a middle table team or even if you're not even in the top 10, could be maybe 7, but I think they're going to get more penalized than a lot of the top 6 teams, especially the big 6, right? So it's never gonna go anyone's way. Everyone else is gonna get punished. There's always gonna be payoffs. There's always gonna be some type of thing going on behind the scenes than what is really being. I mean, especially what Peaches said, they don't want to upset their favorite clubs. That's, I mean, just like I was shocked when Chelsea went through that whole thing.
Yeah,
I was shocked that they even did anything about it. So
I think the Chelsea
it needed to happen. It needed to happen, but I'm shocked something happened.
They did it. Yeah, I think they were public opinion forced into it because of the war and the Russian links and all that sort of stuff. And I think they had to. They were literally forced. Whereas this is their own rules. This is what they're putting in play. Oh, we can't have the PR would be bad if we did something like, the -6, -12, -15 to Manchester City, the champions. How bad would that look? It's like, that is, inevitably, you're right. That is probably a thought process, and that will be what's counter argued, for the people who are there going 115 charges. You fought the process tooth and nail. Take your punishment. Everton got -6. Forest got a couple for minor indiscretions. You guys have thrown the book at this and have literally done as much as you can to get around these rules. Get punished according to the crime. Unfortunately, I mean, maybe when I made the predictions and I was thinking about it, I was being optimistic, or I was basing it on the end of last season when the Premier League did do what they said they were going to and punish teams by docking points. Now this new ruling and, a few weeks in and thought about it, it is probably going to be a big fine for a company and an organization that money means nothing. So it's going to be disappointing, and I do wonder if it will leave a bitter taste to other fans and, neutrals, if you like, who don't have a team like us, who don't support, but just support, enjoy watching a Premier League. Will you ever see, Manchester City's record of how many titles they've won with an asterisk against it?
No, you won't. You won't. That's the thing. It's never gonna happen. And I think overall, when you look at Maddie. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, we
sort of stuff.
We talked about in depth about that. So I think more and more when you look at these teams and the way the structure is, and just like we brought up Chelsea, there's gonna be more. I think in the future there's gonna be more rules. It's just not gonna be what people want. I was just even shocked that there was a cap hit, that each team gets a cap of what they can spend and how much they can spend. Like kind of like in football, the salary cap. Yeah. I'm just surprised the Premier League's doing that.
Oh, they're attempting it, but they're attempting it based on how much money a team can make, right? And then that's where teams like City go out and go, oh, we could make 4 times as much as everybody else because we'll sell our sponsorship to ourselves and pay over the top amount for it. that's, we'll sell the naming rights to our stadium, which was built by public money for a Commonwealth Games, and we'll take all the profit for selling the naming rights of the Manchester City Community Stadium to the Etihad. Oh wait, who owns you? Etihad owns Man City, but you've managed to sell the naming rights to a stadium you don't own for 5 times as much as it really should have been to, do what Chelsea done and make the books balance.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah,
I think it's unless someone new comes in, right, and maybe does something else with it. But right now, it's just going to continue to that's why there's so many issues with the Premier League's financial than it is with, say, Germany, Portugal, Spain. Spain's already got their own mess with Barcelona and Madrid and everything. There's so much corruption in there. But even with the Italian clubs, it used to be like that with the Italian clubs. Now it's not even like that anymore. So I think more and more people start to look at the Premier League, the more and more some things will come to light, but it won't be the full list comes to light. It's like a list,
It'll be a list that's published, that's able to be published, or
right.
It will be sanitized to publish,
right.
But it won't. As you say, we won't know the full truth because it might be dirty secrets that they don't want to show, because the Premier League is, the biggest league in Europe, potentially one of the biggest leagues in the world, if not the biggest league in the world for viewing figures and whatever else. So they don't want to break, and they don't want to mess with the business model by doing too many things that look bad. So I think you're right. I think when it comes out of who gets what and how many charges they get and whatever else, we probably won't see the full list. It will just be they were guilty of 24 out of 115, and we don't talk about the rest of them. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, push it on the table.
And it's not only that. Like I mean, look at China, what they used to get away with all this money, and now they're but like now they're in debt in that league, and they had to disband, shut down clubs as well. I mean, that's where Ant came from. One of the teams there. So and now Saudi Arabia is going through it, but that's a different situation than China, though. Saudi Arabia, this is going to continue to happen. I think they're going to continue to do this for years and years to come because of all the money that's in Saudi and the oil there too, and everything else. I think that's going to continue to happen. I think they're going to get away and get anything. China, that was more like, okay, a hot sec, just a hot sec, and then it was going to burn out. That's just me, though. That's just me.
Yeah. Exactly, and it's the same thing. And as you say, the Saudi thing is that's the next big shiny thing that will throw money at it.
But it won't go away, though. That's the thing. What people need to understand: it's not going to go away.
Yeah, it's not going to flare out like that Chinese Super League,
right?
In that flared so brightly. As you say, they were playing fantasy football and just going, "We'll give this guy this millions, and we'll buy everybody." And then suddenly it was like, "Where's the money coming from? Nobody's watching it."
They tried to grow it. They did for a few years, but
and then COVID came along and COVID came along and ruined it, and then they had to shut everything down, and that was the end of that. But as you say, I don't think the Saudi League is going away, but maybe it won't be quite so much rich pickings the way it seemed to be 2 seasons ago when they were coming in just going you here's 150 million for Salah or whatever it was that was offered. Why Liverpool didn't take it at the time, beyond me. I think we've talked about it. It was like no player's worth that much money to a club. You've got to take that when that money's on the table.
I'll answer this question with Peaches with them. Are you familiar with MLS and how they're doing everything, or not really?
Yep.
You are
not the ins and outs of it, but obviously you've got I know you've got your marquee signing player who can kind of be outside the cap and stuff like that. But
So for me, I think MLS is a brand that's growing, but it's a brand that I'm not on board with when it comes to certain things. Like you said, although MLS is not perfect, it's not perfect.
No.
The competition level is not perfect either. In the way with some of these teams get away with things, just like the Premier League, it's very, very frustrating. But I think the way the MLS is growing with big players coming into the States, that's always going to be there. I think that's the new era of how that's
Yep.
all being developed. I mean, look at LAFC. They got some of the biggest French guys there. TFC was, based for Italian players. And then you have Inter Miami, because I think she's a fan of Inter Miami. She's going into that era, where you're bringing a bunch of Barcelona legends down there. So it's growing slowly, but it's gonna be I think for me, they just need to establish the talent, have everything kind of not really even, but more even keel. It needs to be, it needs to slowly build that talent back up. Because that's why Mexico and Brazil are always having issues. You could even say a lot of South American teams are having issues, but it's getting there, but it's not. I mean, even the ref, like even the officiating is more is a mess too. But everything's not perfect though. It's not perfect. It's not all going to be perfect.
It's still a growing league, right? It's not.
Yeah,
it's not been around for a long. It's what now?
It's been around for a very long time. So it's a very long time. So it's since the 90s, 80s. So
it's getting there. But English Football League has been around for like 150 years. So it's gone through but it's going through all of that. But and it's good that what they've done, because over here, obviously, the MLS got big when Beckham went to LA.
Yeah, right. And then it's
and it seems like they're continuing that trend of
and there's
Thierry Henry to New York and stuff like that.
Right.
So they're doing the right things with those marquee big signings, which get the focus on the MLS. But as you say, the level of competition probably coming through the college teams has to increase. So that when those marquee players come in,
and the academies as well,
they don't look like kids against men, the type of thing. You looked at Ronaldo when he went to the Saudi league. He was just so much better than everybody. He literally could take on the whole.
Well, and the travel level is crazy in the United States in TFC. Even going to Mexico, like the travel, people aren't used to the travel. When you're in Europe and Asia, you can go everywhere, and it's so short. Everything's short. But when you're going to the United States, it's the jet lag is insane. So
especially if you're doing east to west coast, right?
And there are different teams. I agree with Peaches in the chat. Makes for a better watch because it's not the same 4 teams at the top every year after year. She is right about that. And there's more competitions in this. It's kind of like the Premier League, but we have maybe 1 or 2 more competitions that you can qualify for the CONCACAF Champions League, for the playoffs as well. I do like that, but there are things that are going to burn out the players because of the international break, their international teams. I want them to slow it down, but I do like the creativity, and I do like the creativity with the Premier League. They had the Conference League and the Europe. I love that. I don't like the Super League, but I think overall there are pros and cons. I will say this. I want this to happen in the MLS. Last comment she said. The promotion and regulation. There's just not enough teams. That's the thing. Not enough teams. There's not enough talent, and there's not enough expansion that I think that could happen for me.
Did they do draft? Did they draft the MLS from college, or is it?
They do that. Yes, they do.
So
draft.
Similar type of thing. Worst team gets to pick the best college players, like they do in the NFL type thing. So that explains, as you say, that's one of the joys of the American system is
correct. Yes,
that your teams will fluctuate. You won't just get a team that's always at the top because that team
it does happen every year. The thing is that sucks about it is I hate that they're just putting. I feel like the Mexican teams, like when they're going in there. It used to be so dominant for the Mexican teams to overpower the United States and Canada. Now I'm happy that it's kind of even keel now. But I think the overall calendar year, the one thing that does annoy me, and I think me and Peaches have talked about this, you know how the Champions League is at the end of the season?
Yeah, towards the end,
Okay, CONCACAF and the AFC Champions League are always in the beginning, and they end in March or April. And I hate that. It needs to go back to the end. It needs to go back because that's the biggest one you're trying to get. You're getting the MLS Cup, you're getting your Leagues Cup, and I get that, like from the Asia level and the United States level. But I want all those big things. That's a big event you want to watch at the end of the year. I don't want to see that crap the first few months and then have it be ended at that. No.
Nobody
No.
wants that because your players aren't back up to speed. That's one of the
Yeah.
joys of the Champions
Yeah,
League
and
over
the
here is that
injuries, they get injured
injuries.
early, they're not going to come back for that later in the year. Yeah.
Exactly. Whereas that's what you get over here. We get those early season injuries. You get the rust and everything else, and we'll dive into the football here. But once the
Facts.
Champions League comes
Facts.
around, the
Facts.
players have had 2 or 3 months to get up to speed. So
See,
the teams are playing
exactly.
well. So the games are better and
Agreed.
everything. So throwing it in like
Yes.
early on, yeah, and
I
of
hate
course it's
that.
difficult.
That's one of
Of
my
course it's
biggest pet
difficult though because
peeves.
but it's northern and southern hemisphere, and you're kind of mixing hemispheres and weathers and everything. So I can kind of understand they're trying to find a common ground whereby it doesn't impact, it doesn't negatively impact the
Right.
South American teams because their season is slightly different. And I get
Exactly.
it.
Mexico too. And they don't treat the international break well too. There's still teams playing even on the international break. There's no rest for anybody. So the calendar year, like Peter said in the chat, and I agree with this too, they don't stop. They don't stop. And it's hard. It's hard to have people come back. And then it's like, what are we doing now?
Yeah.
That's why people want to continue to leave, and people continue to have their adrenaline, the rest, the endurance. It's all not there up to standard.
Still not there,
There's no break.
because if you've got so many international players, and as you just said, the travel for the MLS is already insane.
Oh,
and then you've got English players or French players or South American players. They then have to fly back home to play an international game, but the teams are still playing, the league's still going. So when they come back, there's no sort of there's no gentle sort of reintroduction of we appreciate you've just flown 2/3 of the way around the globe to play in Asia. You've got to come all the way back, and now you're playing on Sunday. Get in. It's like no wonder people burn out.
But that's the biggest frustration right now. But going back to the Premier League, let's recap the games, and then we'll do predictions as well after that. So we could start. So it's match day 7 out of 38 games. Let's start with Crystal Palace and Liverpool. That's your game. Let's start with you.
Start here. So early kickoff this Saturday. Interestingly enough, obviously, didn't go the normal. Yeah, it's a narrow victory against Liverpool's bogey team. It's been for years. And if you think of Liverpool Crystal Palace, they've always been crazy 3-3 draws. The end of the season where we let the season go and we let Palace get back to 3-3. They've always been a really tough team for Liverpool to beat. Don't know what it is about them, especially at Selhurst Park, narrow, tiny, whatever else. So to have such a comfortable game, even though it was only 1-0 and it should have been 3-4-0, Jota missed some really glaring chances. He should have really put that game to bed. Which led to that 10-15 minutes towards the end of mayhem of, oh my goodness, we're going to have to hang on a little bit. But again, it's back to that. We scored a goal. We were comfortable. There wasn't edge of the seat nerves. It wasn't panic. It wasn't like, oh no, we're going to lose this towards the end. It was, the pressure came on. Endo came on and did what Endo does and broke up the play, got some tackles in, put some, challenges in. It was just Arne Slot's game plan, Arne Slot's kind of football of calm, controlled, measured, no crazy, as we said, no crazy sort of rock and roll up and down, we'll score, you'll score. Didn't have that feel to it. But it would have been nice to get a couple of those clear-cut chances just to make it even more comfortable. But it was quite weird watching the Crystal Palace game early after a European week. Usually we struggle on that. So to get that kind of get out of there with a 1-0 win, top of the league, thank you very much. I don't recall there being too many injuries. I think McAllister went off at half-time, though, so he might have just picked up a little bit of a knock. But then we swapped it for Szoboszlai, so, it also shows the strength of our bench that, you take off World Cup winner and bring on the Hungarian captain who is absolutely flying and probably would have started any other game. So it was a really good start to the weekend. Nice to get out of there early, put the marker down for other teams to say, right, come and catch us.
I think overall this was a game to where your talent showed why you can win games, even though you didn't. Even though Crystal Palace is on the bottom of the table, it's always a trap game for you guys. So I I think this just shows the talent that you have, and I think overall this was kind of a game to where not only could this have gone either way, there was penalties involved, a lot of refs decision making was up and down. I think overall this game was more of a squad win than anything. I don't think it was a coaching win. I just think because the depth is there. It reminds me
level,
it reminds me of Arsenal on how much depth that they have. It reminds me of a lot of other teams, how much depth do they have. And they can be down 1, 2, 3, 4 goals, but you're still going to find a way to win. And I think this was the type of trap game that you guys got out of because of the depth in the squad. This was a good team win. It wasn't perfect, but it was a team win.
Yeah, I'm gonna just pull this up. The penalty, the controversial, as you just mentioned about the refereeing and stuff like that. It was a weird one because I think it's safe to say everyone who saw it saw that Van Dijk did pull the arm of the defender. So, it could have been given, but I can also understand why it wasn't, because the ball that was coming in, the guy was never getting anywhere near. It's like in the NFL, when it's like it's a pass interference, but it's an uncatchable ball. The ball that with the cross that was coming in was so high that the Palace defender was never getting anywhere near it. So, although I can guarantee that everybody should have been screaming and all Crystal Palace fans will be screaming, but he pulled his arm and therefore it should be given. He was not impeding him because he's never getting the ball. But I totally get that. It's one of those opinions, but the refereeing wasn't great. It was a stop-start. The referee kind of got involved in the game a lot, didn't let it flow, so it was a bit. It didn't have that flow. It was always sort of like stopping all the time for niggly little things, and then some of the bigger decisions you kind of just let go. So it was a bit strange.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. So going on to Arsenal and Southampton, this was a tight game until and then Southampton was keeping up with them. I think overall this was a game to where, like I said, a squad win, the depth win. I think
good substitution for Marteta.
Right. This was a very good coachable game. And I think it did show at the end. Not surprised that Southampton lost. I was just surprised that Southampton was just matching it. And it seems like that's been the problem with Arsenal though lately. Is they're coming back and winning, and you could tell that's a great thing to have, especially in the late in the year when you're battling Man City for the top squad and even Liverpool.
Mm-hmm.
But like Arsenal keep giving these teams like, oh, hey, come with us a little bit. And then
we'll give you a chance.
Then pull the trigger. No. If you want to establish your dominance in this in this league, you gotta get in early, and you can't let a team come back. And that's the problem with Arsenal right now. But they got the team to do it, and they won very quietly at the end. So it's like I said, that's going to be a problem later on if they don't fix that now.
Yeah. And I saw the highlights of that game, and you're right. They probably should have put that game to bed in the first half. They were the better team, but they kind of let Southampton stick around. And
I agree. It was the best Southampton performance I've seen. For first 7 games, just like Peaches said.
Peaches said there, but there were a couple unfortunate errors that the Southampton defenders made, which gave 2 goals away, which is a bit of a shame for them. But you're right. A really good performance for Southampton. They probably felt they should have possibly done got a little something out of it. But as you say, good coaching from Arteta. Players at Arsenal came through for them when needed, but a worrying sign if they continue to allow plucky teams to stick around. Better teams will take points off of them if they still allow those teams to stick around and don't go out. As you say, Southampton, bottom of the league, Arsenal should have gone out there and put 3-4-0, game done, closed it off before half-time, but didn't and allowed them to stick around. So, a good win in the end, but it was in the end they got the good win. So something that Arsenal fans will probably want their team to get better at and close games out like that sooner. I
agree. We're going to go to Brentford and Wolves. Very tight game. Tight game. Like that was one of the best performances I think I've seen the last 7 games like so far. Even with the Leicester and Arsenal game, this was a battle of 2 mid teams. Okay, 2 middle class teams in the Premier League battling it out, and Brentford won. Brentford
came
always finds a way. Brentford
at
always
home.
finds a way.
At
It's
home,
crazy.
always finds a way. And again, Brentford do what they do best: score within like a minute and a half.
Yeah.
So
I was on the edge of my
I
seat.
think it was crazy. I think it was like 4-4 in 20 minutes or something, wasn't it? But yeah,
Right.
I'm just looking
Right.
at 26.
Right.
By the 26th minute, it was 2-2. I mean, the game was just like it was like literally end to end. You score, we score. You score, we score. Wide open kind of game, which is not what Wolves need right now. Wolves need to start picking up some points. They've been playing really well. They've had some good performances, but they need to turn them into points because they are struggling down the bottom. They keep losing these crazy, mad games that they're in. It's really a shame for Wolves that they could end up getting cut adrift a bit if they don't start picking up points. But again, as you say, Brentford just really well coached at home, really good team, finding goals as well. I think that's interesting. They're starting to score goals for fun, whereas it's not all on Tony or Mbeumo. The goals are coming from different areas of the park. So that's good news for Brentford. And, as you say, those teams, and I got no problems, as we've talked about, Brentford are going to be well secure, top half of the table, maybe pushing for Europe quite easily. But Wolves really need to pull themselves out of where they are because they are looking a bit in danger down there.
It was a great game. I really enjoyed it. Man City is on blast. Wow. Yeah. Where the hell did that come from with Fulham? Like, I knew they're a great team. We all know they're a great team, and you know that they're going to be in the middle of it. But, wow, they ripped apart Man City. And I'm surprised Man City even won. I'm surprised Man City won this game, but then again, I'm not. I'm 50-50. But I think, man, at the moment, they are flying high. They are and me and Maddie called it. Rodri missing Rodri is a big thing for Man City. He is that glue. We both said it, Maddie. He is that glue. And there's no glue at the moment. It's everywhere. So
it's everywhere, and they're having to use two players.
Props to Fulham.
Props to Fulham. They went at them. They did not back off. And that's some of the times the problem with some of the smaller teams, if you like, in the Premier League. They back off City and they kind of go, here, have the ball. We'll try and defend. Fulham are just like, no, okay, we're going to play our game. We're going to put Adama Traore up front and just run at you. And he should have, when they were 1-0 up, he had a glorious chance to make it 2-0, which could have really made it interesting. I think he was like 6 or 7 yards out. He should have scored. He managed to put it over the bar. And then obviously Kovacic came back. And how City do this, because they get goals from places, Rodri was the master of doing it, but now they've got Kovacic popping up, scoring 2 goals. It's like, oh, come on. Yeah. Fulham looked more like Man City, and they did. Some of the highlights you saw, they did. Fulham were just like running at them, counter-attack, and they're breaking at speed. It was a really good game. They did really well. Fulham really showed up and gave them a right good game, and City knew they were in a game then. And I think City went 3-1 up, and probably the Muniz goal towards the end may be a touch of a consolation, but it gives the scoreline a more representative feel to what that game was like. It was a 3-2 game. It was close. Fulham were good, and they deserved to get possibly something out of that.
And not only that, like, I feel like Fulham, the resurgence of Raul Jimenez, this was like Wolves in the beginning. Jimenez. Yeah. This wasn't even Benfica. This wasn't even like the other team he played for on loan. Like, this is a whole new Jimenez. Like, he is the glue right now, and he's killing it. That whole team is flying high at the moment. I loved every single single moment. I wish they would have won, but it is what it is. But props to Fulham. They're keeping up with one of the best teams.
It was interesting, though, that Fulham dropped who I thought was their best player going into this. I thought Emile Smith-Rowe was like flying high, and he didn't even play. I don't know if there was an injury or if it was just squad rotation or something. But it's like he's been scoring goals for fun, and then suddenly he's not playing in one of the biggest games. I was like,
if there's anybody in the chat knows why, I would like to know. I don't know why. So
It's a strange one for him not to be playing, but yeah, maybe there was a reason for it, but we're not fully aware of. Next one, Leicester Bournemouth, bottom of the table clash.
Yeah, I wasn't really surprised with this game. I always said Leicester is, that surprising dark horse team trying to get back on track with everything in the Premier League. I'm not surprised. It was a great game until that goal. So it was another one, a fun game, but also I'm just a fan of Leicester right now. They're just flying high.
Just plucky. They're fighting. They're getting out of there. They're doing what they need to stick around.
I still know there's some situations still with Cooper that everyone needs to figure out, but the fact that they're getting their results and winning in fashion, it has to show some kind of a light, a little at least. But
yeah, a little light, and this is a big win for them, getting their first 3 points.
Yeah, I think overall, switching to the other game, West Ham and Ipswich Town. I was shocked. I was very shocked. This game just establishes.
This game exploded. It just exploded, right? It was the first minute.
We scored in the first minute. We never do that. And then, a few minutes later, Ipswich scores, and I'm like, okay, this feels normal. This feels normal.
It's just back to what you expect. Yeah.
But then, the goals and the timing, finally Paqueta got his creativity back. Finally, Kudos was making some moves. It was it felt like Antonio was the old Antonio again.
Yeah.
It's just
running around, bossing people. Yeah.
I like our defense the way it is. Areola kept making some kicking errors, not save errors, but kicking errors. He held onto the ball too long, and that did freak me out. And you could tell Lopetegui was all over him for that, which he should be. I think overall this was a team win that needed to happen. Thought it was going to be closer. We still do so many substitutions. It's hilarious how we but that's how the depth is. I'm beginning to wonder, and I want to talk about this with Maddie next time. Somerville. Lopetegui has to have a beef with Summerhill because I feel like he should be starting, and Souček shouldn't be starting at all. I just don't understand why he keeps starting, and even Antonio at the moment before he scores is when Fulkenberg comes back, he needs to be the starter. He needs to absolutely be the starter. And Somerville needs to be in the starting lineup so we can match what Kudos is matching on the other side, move Paqueta to be his creative role back into the middle. I just want to know, why does he continue to play these guys when they didn't even have that great of a game? I'm talking about Souček in this moment. Because it's like, okay, they're scoring a little, but they're not. But when the times we need them to step up, even without the scoring, it's jack crap. So, and Guido, I don't understand why Guido is still in the starting lineup. He has been in the beginning he was good, but then the last 4 or 5 games he's proven, why the heck did we even get him? So it's becoming that we need to find our starting lineup more. We need to continue to build these pieces because this is feeling a little bit like David Moyes all over again. Just saying. But
you don't think this win gives him some?
I think it's given him some clarity in some specific areas, but he needs to play his best players, and he's not doing that at the moment. In my personal opinion, he isn't.
Do you think he knows who his best 11 are?
No, I still don't. I think he's still trying to force it. I think he's good with his defense. I think his defense he's happy about, and what I'm happy about too. Those 4 deserve the start, and they make our defense better. It's the midfields and forwards and the tracking back mids that he's still trying to figure out, and I still think Somerville needs to start. So, and I'm still butthurt, Peaches. You are probably loving him over there, but I'm still butthurt that Ward-Prowse isn't on this team.
No, not this week. He's not that happy about Ward-Prowse. He managed to pick up 2 yellows and got sent off, but we'll get to that in a minute. And then there was one final game on the Saturday. Everton getting a good point, especially saved by their Tyrannosaurus armed goalkeeper saving a penalty from Anthony Gordon to keep them getting a point. Took one, it's a point that Everton desperately needed. Newcastle will probably be upset not getting the 3 because Everton have been so bad. But a point for Everton is probably good for them. I really don't see anything else to talk about there.
To be honest, it was a team win. Sorry, it was a team win for them. To be fair, I think this was one of those games where they needed a point. They faced against a very good team, middle team that are on the rise up. But I think overall, just like Dice said before the game, they need to find not only themselves, but they need to find an identity. And I think the identity is still a working process, but a tie is better than nothing. So, a
point there is good. Yeah.
I would be, if I'm Newcastle, I would be more pissed. That's just me, though.
Well, yeah, I mean, you should, if you get a penalty, you should score your penalty. I mean, granted, if the keeper saves it, I'm always a little bit like, give the keeper some credit, but I don't think it was a very good penalty. Anthony Gordon's not a renowned penalty taker either, so the fact that he took it against his old team, it's an interesting one here. I'm sure he got royally ribbed for having it saved.
What do you think about the Aston Villa and Man United game?
I think Villa will be disappointed. They did not beat them. I mean, I'm trying to say it in the nicest way, but
no, that was a jack shit performance.
Jack shit. They should have pummeled them. That United team is poor. It's broken. There's stuff going on there that needs to be sorted out for the good of the club. But Villa should have gone in there and made a point there and got out of there. It was scrappy. It was disjointed. It was a good defensive performance from Johnny Evans and Harry Maguire. But when you say that out loud, it's Johnny Evans and Harry Maguire.
It feels old.
Come on, it feels old. It feels old, right? And you think Ollie Watkins should have bossed those two around and got something out of that game.
I am. Ten Hag's going to be a great manager somewhere else. I could see him with Bayern Munich and winning everything there, but he's not the culture of Manchester United from the top down. It's not going to go in his favor. It's just he's going to be better somewhere else. And now he's just trying to get through it. I think that's what it is.
And he keeps getting, you're our guy. He keeps getting the dreaded vote of confidence and all that sort of stuff. But I don't know.
Right. I don't even know anymore. It's hard.
I don't know anymore.
And then Chelsea and Forest. I'm shocked. I'm shocked. Yes.
Feisty game.
I'm shocked that Chelsea didn't win this game, but the way that it was going, it was just a tough, very fun, tough game. Yeah. Red card with Ward-Prowse. I agree with Peaches. I think he took one for the team, to be fair.
Absolutely. You had to. The first one was a tactical. You had to put yourself take the yellow over there, and therefore, eventually he's on a yellow.
Right.
The risk is always there. But
props to Force. Props to Force for hanging in there. I think Chelsea should have been the better team, but it was a good game, stressful game overall.
Yeah, not fun to watch, not comfortable to watch, but a really good point for Forest.
Entertaining, as Peaches would say, and I agree with that.
Yeah, it was definitely entertaining for the neutral. Glad I wasn't supporting Chelsea or Forest, though, because that would have been like, wow, just tense, nervous, and whatever else. And speaking of tense, nervous, and then being completely
the game of the week for
me. Tottenham, game of two halves, that cliched version of game of two halves. Tottenham cruising, absolutely cruising. 2-0. Thank you very much. This is easy. Don't bother coming out for the second half and then just lose it 3-2. Tottenham doing Spursy things.
Oh,
perfect example of it. Big Ange is upset. Big Ange is fuming or whatever else. But Pete just says it there. 100% Spursy.
Yeah,
This is what they do. This is
yeah, it does, and but I think they're gonna bounce back though. I really do think
they'll be fine. Yeah, they will be fine. But this is an indication of why they won't be up there at this sharp end come when silverware's handing out.
This
Idiots like this, where they just have brain farts and just switch off for 45 minutes.
Even though Tottenham should have won, I respect this win for Brighton because Brighton is a tough ass team. We can't overlook Brighton anymore. We can't.
No.
Brighton's
not the place where you get it's guaranteed a home win.
Yes.
Guaranteed. You can't get a Brighton. Nothing at Brighton is a given anymore.
Exactly. That's not an easy win anymore. It's like Crystal Palace with some teams. It's not a guaranteed win anymore.
Absolutely. But the problem with Tottenham was they went 2-0 up and then just went, got this.
I mean, Brighton's always going to be a tough team no matter what. So I think they're going to bounce back. Great win by Brighton. What a great team win. I think it's going to be interesting going forward to see what Brighton does down the line. But
it'd be interesting if they can hold on. If they can hold on to their players and they don't get the whole, big teams coming in and buying their players. Chelsea, Matty, leave them alone. Leave your feeder club alone for a while.
It's not on Ange either. I think the players just gave up, in my opinion.
Yeah, the players either gave up or thought they had the game won, and then
they relaxed too much. It was weird. Like I was like, I never thought a Tottenham team. I haven't seen in a while. I mean, the overall, yes, when they're up, they definitely, but not lately until this game. This game, I was like, you guys can kick their ass. What the hell happened?
What did you do? What did you have at halftime in your tea?
Oh, yes, exactly.
What was in the drink? Because it really, really odd that they came out and just didn't bother, thought they had the game won. And as we said, there is no easy game in the Premier League. If you do that against any team, they'll take advantage, especially a Brighton team like that. So I don't know what's going on, but totally not on Ange. He must be ripping those players some new ones before they disappear for the international break.
For sure. But yeah, those games overall, it was just insane. I think we're gonna talk about the next games when Maddie comes back next week. We'll talk about because we are on international break. For your England squad, let's talk about that, Gary. Your England squad. How are you feeling going in international break and where the England squad is at the moment? You happy? You solid? You middle? What are you thinking?
I don't know. I think it's an interesting. The weird thing is with the England squad right now is it's a squad in flux, right? We don't have a manager. We haven't got the official manager. We've still got this interim guy who's kind of just doing the job until they find the right manager. So this squad has that feel of middly, kind of don't make big changes. Don't make strength, keep the core of the same squad. Don't kind of take a risk on anybody. It's a bit safe. It's a bit middling. There's nothing. It's like, so it's okay, And I'm reading Morgan Gibbs-White, Konsa, and Mainu have been ruled out with injuries or niggles or whatever else. So, it's okay. I mean, it's an okay squad, but there are teams and players in there that you kind of go,
right.
Why are they? Why is Eze not in there from Palace?
Facts,
right? Mm-hmm. There's a couple of them. It's weird. There's a few players that you think should be in there. Bowen should have been in there. I think Jared Bowen should have got a shout, but he's not in the squad. And look what he just did at the weekend. Kind of went out and proved the point. So there are a few players that I think, if we had a manager and the actual manager was in place, may have made the squad. But because Carsley's just kind of holding the reins, waiting for the guy to come in, this squad is pick a squad just to get through these reasonably easy Greece and Finland games, right? These are games that you would expect an England team to take 6 points from. So I think he's picked a squad to just get through that and not rock the boat too much.
I think overall, at least you guys got depth. That you can't complain too much on depth. But I do agree with you overall with the England situation. As far as USA, I'll talk about USA and I'll talk about Italy too. I'm not a huge fan of the of the USA national team. I just don't really care. I never have. There's moments where I think a team is just going to come out and blow past everybody, and they don't. But I think that's going to change with Pochettino. I think Pochettino is going to put the best players out there. I think he's going to get enough out of these guys where I think that they can compete for everything, especially the way Pulisic is just rambling and everybody right now. So I think the future is bright for USA and Pochettino. Wish them the best of luck, but I just don't watch them enough. As far as Italy goes, Italy is my ride or die. I love Italy with everything in me, but it's the same thing year after year. Coaching, it comes down to coaching, and we just haven't gotten it right since the Euros. We haven't even gotten it right even before that. I thought Conte, was that guy to come in and make everything great, and he did during that time. But then I don't really fault him for wanting to go back to consistent coaching in the Premier League and then Italy again. But I think the future of the young talent for Italy is bright. I think it always has been. But it's all about, can the coach get enough out of these guys and put them all together, the right lineups, the right players. And I think it's starting to come where this young team is coming together and getting it done. But the thing is, winning those last minute games has always been really hard for Italy, especially with Spalletti's the way he puts the bench. He doesn't really substitute that well. He substitutes really at the end of the game more than
when it's too late to make a difference type thing.
Yeah, and then always the problem with Italy is the forward situation. We don't have a consistent forward that we really haven't in the last 5 years. So I think if we find that, we're going to be just fine. We're going to compete again. But right now, it's growing pains, seeing what the young talent has. But
and he's got some young guys in there, isn't he?
It's great. The midfield, no complaints about. The defense, I have no complaints about. It's just more of the forward situation because, if we just imagine if Italy has a consistent scorer, we will get back to glory. But the glory is not there right now because we can't find a person that scores. And it was going to be Scamacca. They put all their eggs in one basket in Scamacca, but they didn't give all these other guys a shot because they're clingy to Immobile. And I'm like, no, stop that shit. And then Chiese is not the same player again. There's always drama with Juve and the national team as well. So it's a rough time for the forwards, but I do think in the future it will get better. It's just coaching. It just has to be changed. Spalletti in the Euros was absolutely awful, in my opinion. The players bailed them out more than anything. So yeah, future's bright, but there's two things that aren't bright. But that's where I'm at with the Italy national team.
Interesting. It's nice to see Maldini. Seeing an Italian squad with Maldini in feels right.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, it's not Paolo and it's his son and, whatever else, he's playing very well. But it just seems right to have a Maldini. It's like, that's what you need an Italian squad. You need to have a Maldini in it. But yeah, there's some really young, exciting youth there. Hopefully Spalletti can put them in the right positions and work it out for them. But a couple of interesting, especially against Belgium. That Belgium squad always
up and down.
Fear.
It's always
strikes fear when you read it right on paper.
Yeah.
You're like, wow,
but when they play together, they can't. They really can't.
They just can't. Yeah,
they can't get it together.
Strange.
Yeah. To me,
so it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how they get through this. As you say, international break, Nations League squad. It's good for the European teams to have competitive games because often these international breaks early in the season have been stupid friendlies that mean nothing, whereas at least these Nations League are competitive, so that at least the players don't
care about that trophy. And I do too.
They care about it. They care about it. It's a trophy that they can win. It means a lot, and it means that the players come back from international breaks and they haven't lost that much of an intensity level. Whereas what used to happen before, you'd have this international break 3-4 weeks into the season. Players would go away for 2 weeks on a jolly because they're playing a friendly against San Marino and Moldova, and it's just like it's like playing kids in the park type thing. So they come back and it's like get back into Premier League, sort of get back into that intensity. Whereas now the Nations League has taken some of those pointless friendlies and meaningless friendlies away. So it should be fun. Should be interesting. As I say, from England's point of view, just get the points done. Just get out. Don't get any players injured. It's just that sort of holding pattern. But it will be interesting to see how the Italian youngsters, how much time they get on the pitch as well. You know, there's 5 uncapped players in that squad. Will he take the plunge and put them on the pitch or not?
I agree with you. And there's one thing I want to talk about. No, but I agree with you though. Oh yeah, San Marino. Yeah,
San Marino finally. Did they get a win or did they get a point? I can't remember. Yeah, I think they got their first win in like.
I thought that was a win. No.
Yeah, I think they got their first win in forever.
But there is news though. I want to talk about this before we end the stream about Manchester United. From Transfers News Live, this happened about an hour ago. Thomas Tuchel is open to becoming Manchester United's manager and is ready.
Ooh.
Erik ten Hag's fate will be decided tomorrow. The source is David McDonnell.
I called that last week. What did I say at the end of the show last week?
You did.
I said it. Ten Hag won't be there after the international. Tuchel. Oh, that'll please Matty. Matty loved Thomas Tuchel at Chelsea. If he goes
changed
to United,
things at Chelsea.
Matty's gonna be.
He changed things at Chelsea.
Oh yeah, he did massively. Speaking of the devil, there he is. If he goes to United, if Tuchel goes to United, will Matty become a United fan?
Oh, 100%. Oh, come on. That's not even.
Me too, Peaches. Me too.
Oh my God, it's so funny.
That's so funny, definitely want Etihad. I definitely want Erik ten Hag to stay because it's such a car crash with him there, and he's getting nothing done. But if Tuchel went,
bro,
he would shape things up.
Oh, he would shape things up like Klopp would shape things up.
Yeah. That's interesting. The fact that he's come out, he's almost the first one to come above the parapet and say, "Hey, I'm open to that," which makes me think conversations have probably already. At least investigatory conversations. Somebody's phoned him up, go, "Hey, Thomas, if this job came available, would you be interested?" So for him to come out and say, "I'm open," I think there might be some. There's no smoke without fire kind of thing. I think maybe a decision has been made, which is a real shame for everybody else because it's fun watching United absolutely implode.
I agree. It's fun. It needs to continue to happen. But when you bring Tuchel in there, I'm afraid for everybody.
Oh, yeah, he could wake the giant because, as you say, he made massive changes at Chelsea and he really changed Chelsea's fortune. If he goes into United and gets given time, that could be problematic for everybody else.
I agree with you. But guys, that is our show. Great show. Sorry, Maddie. Maddie, we'll see you next week as well. But guys, this is Live on Sports MAG UK from the Dan Harris studio. I'm Italy Jet.
I am Groovy. This has been Let the Mayhem Begin. Bye for now.